UFC Vancouver is going down this weekend, and I'm here to give you guys my predictions and breakdown for most of the fights on the card. Also, towards the end, I'm going to be giving you guys some of my best bets and best picks for the weekend. Without further ado, let's get into it. Kicking us off, we have Kyle Nelson taking on Matt Frevola. Matt Frevola is coming in here as a slight favorite at minus 135, with Kyle Nelson coming in at plus 115. Of course, this card's in Canada, in Vancouver, my home country, of course. I'm going to be rooting for a lot of the Canadians on the card, and I think a lot of Canadians can get it done, but not this one, unfortunately. Matt Frevola's got the power, and I think that's what's going to help him win this fight. Kyle Nelson is durable. He's good everywhere, but he's kind of a win-one, lose-one fighter. He's lost to some good dudes like Billy Quarantillo, but he doesn't have the names on his resume, and I think a matchup with Frevola is just not going to end well for him. I'm going to be taking Matt Frevola here to win this fight via KO or TKO, and I think at the price at minus 135 is pretty good as well. Next up, Asmat Bakoyev versus Yusuf Belgaroui. Asmat Bakoyev's coming in at a minus 250 favorite. Belgaroui's coming in at a plus 225 underdog. And yeah, this isn't the craziest of names, but I wanted to include this fight because I think it's going to be a real fun one. Bakoyev is a deadly Dagestani striker. A lot of hype surrounding him. He won on his debut. Let's see if he can keep it going. Belgaroui, on the other hand, not as much hype, but he's also a kickboxer, and he trains with Alex Pereira. So that's why I think people care about this fight a lot more than they usually would. But just because you train with Alex Pereira doesn't make you Alex Pereira. I'm going to be taking Asmat Bakoyev to win this fight. I think he's the much better striker, and I think he'll find Belgaroui's chin at some point. Moving up the card, another Canadian, one of my favorites, Charles Jourdain, is taking on Davy Grant. He's coming in as a slight favorite at minus 135, and for good reason. I mean, a lot of people are going to be hopping on Davy Grant in this fight, and I understand why. Grant is crafty. He's good at fighting these young dudes, some of these lesser experienced guys, and I think a lot of people think he's just going to have the upper hand over a guy like Charles Jourdain. But Charles Jourdain, in my opinion, is one of the most unlucky dudes in UFC history, dating back, honestly, even to his Shane Burgos fight. He got robbed that night, and I think that completely changed the trajectory of his career. Because Jourdain is a stud, he's good at grappling, and he's a very crafty striker. He doesn't carry a ton of power, which may hurt him in this fight with Davy Grant, because Grant, while he doesn't have the crazed of power, he's able to put together some really nice combinations. He's able to get off 3-4 punches when he lands on you. So that could hurt Jourdain as the fight goes on, but I'm not sure if it's going to affect him too much, because I still think Jourdain is good enough on the feet to hold off Davy Grant's attacks and land some of his own, and I think in the grappling, he's much better, which is where I think Jourdain needs to take this fight if he wants to find the victory. He actually has some really good jiu-jitsu, and if he's able to get this one to the ground, I think he's going to be able to pull off a sub. Continuing up the card now, Chito Vera versus Aiemann Zahabi. This is one of the more interesting matchups on this card. Zahabi's coming in at the minus 125 favorite, with Chito Vera coming in at plus 105. This fight is very interesting because I think it's a really tough one to predict. You have a guy in Chito Vera who things just are not going his way as of late. He hasn't fought in a year and since his loss to Davison Figueiredo, and things just aren't working for Chito right now. You look at a guy like Aiemann Zahabi. Zahabi, of course, he's coming off of that fight against Jose Aldo. A lot of people thought he lost that fight. I'm a little torn on it, but I understand why he got the decision. I don't know about Zahabi, though. I think he's very good. I think he's very technical, and I think he's good at moments in fights, but the dude just has never been fighting for enough time against high-level competition. Like, the guy's been around for a very long time in the sport, and he just hasn't fought the best of competition. He finally fought someone really good in Jose Aldo, and he didn't look all that great. I don't know if I'm confident enough in Chito Vera to pick him, because honestly, Chito has just let me down time and time again, but I actually think this is one of his more favorable matchups. We all know Chito's a very slow starter, and honestly, so is Zahabi. So I think that works for him. He has a guy who isn't going to put a crazy amount of pressure on him right at the beginning, and he's going to have a guy that also wants to ease into the fight like he does as well. And I think playing a patience game with Chito Vera and trying to just slowly break him down is just not the way to do it. You got to remember, yeah, Chito has lost, but he has some ridiculous knockouts and some ridiculous moments in his career. He's able to pull off crazy shit, and if Zahabi just plays this one too safe and is too careful, he may get knocked out. So although I'm torn on it, I'm not going to back the Canadian this time. I'm going to take Chito Vera to win this fight. I think coming in as an underdog as well is also great value, but it's not even that. It's just the fact that I think Chito's still very good. He's still got it. He's just fought some of the best dudes in the world who have broke him down. And I don't think Amin Zahabi can do that. I'm not sure Amin Zahabi's on the level of some of these other dudes. And I think if Zahabi starts slow, lets Chito get into the fight, it could be bad news for him. Next up, an actual interesting women's MMA fight. Manon Fiorot is taking on Canada's Jasmine Jasudavicius. In my opinion, Jasmine is the best of the Canadian talent right now. And that may sound crazy because we have a guy like Mike Malott, but I really don't think it is. I think out of all Canadian fighters, Jasmine has the best chance at becoming a UFC champion right now. Her wrestling is great. Her striking is getting better. But now she has her toughest matchup of her career against Manon Fiorot. Obviously, people are going to remember Manon from her fight with Valentina and her terrible performance in that fight, but I don't want to falter too much. That's Valentina Shevchenko. She's been the champ for years. That's not a bad loss. And if you look at Manon versus a lot of these other fighters in the division, she's cooked everybody. Like, you guys remember when she fought Erin Blanchfield and literally stuffed all her takedowns and just completely embarrassed her? I do. And that was massive, and it showed that Manon deserved to fight for the title, and that's what she got. Yeah, she fell short, but Manon is a very good fighter, and I think a lot of people sleep on her because of her loss to Valentina. I think there's a serious opportunity Manon can bounce back here against Jasmine because she is very similar to how Erin Blanchfield fights, but that doesn't mean I'm going to take her. I told you guys I'm going to be backing the Canadians on this card, and I think Jasmine Jasudavicius is definitely going to be one of them. Yeah, this is her toughest fight. Yeah, she's going to have to deal with Manon's striking and the strength difference that she seems to have over a lot of women in her division. That's what said a lot about Manon, that she's always been the strongest here. So we'll see if that's the case because Jasmine's going to bring everything. She's going to come with her wrestling, and she's not going to be afraid to go for takedowns. She's not going to be worried. She's going to try and work her game. And I think if Jasmine can work her game plan to her best, she can definitely win this fight. On to the co-main event now, Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. This is a super interesting fight. Now, my head wants to say Kevin Holland wins this fight because if we're talking skill for skill, I mean, I think Holland's better. And I love Mike Malott. Mike Malott is an animal. He's a good wrestler. He's got powerful striking. But when Kevin Holland cares and shows up, he's an elite fighter. He actually is. The problem is he doesn't give a shit. So how am I supposed to pick a dude that doesn't even care if he wins or loses? And that's literally my only struggle with picking Kevin Holland in this fight. You never know which version of him is going to show up. Like, if we see the version of him that showed up against D-Rod, he's definitely not winning this fight. But if we see a version of him that's shown up differently before against other dudes, he could totally win this. This is not an unwinnable fight for him. Mike Malott's lost before. He had a bad loss to Neil Magny. So, I mean, he's there to be had at. I just don't know if Kevin's going to bite. I think Malott's going to use his wrestling a lot in this matchup, and I think it could mean bad things for him because Holland off his back is dangerous. He's able to pick up submissions here and there, and I think if Mike's not super careful, he could be caught in some sort of armbar or something like that. And if Kevin Holland doesn't give a shit, then Mike Malott's going to win this fight. So, with that being said, I mean, my head's telling me Kevin Holland. Like, I think Kevin Holland, like, without any of the other bullshit involved, I think Holland, skill for skill, should win this fight. But I'm not picking him. I'm backing Mike Malott. He cares more, a lot more, and I think he's also got a thing to prove here. He's in a big spot again, UFC Vancouver, and this is his chance. He needs to pick up something big here. He needs to break into the top 15 because he had his chance against Neil Magny. It didn't work out, so he needs to bounce on this opportunity. Last but certainly not least, it leaves us with the main event, Renier de Ridder versus Brendan Allen. Of course, this was supposed to be RDR versus Fluffy Fernandez, which would have been an amazing fight. I honestly probably would have gone to the fights, to be honest, if that was the main event, but Fluffy pulled out, and we're left with Brendan Allen. Now, I don't hate Brendan Allen, but I wouldn't say I'm particularly fond of his fighting style either, to be honest. Like, I never see it with Brendan Allen. I see he's a guy who has a good ground game, who can strike, but he's just good and not great. He's not able to reach the very top of the sport. He's just a middle-of-the-pack kind of guy. And Renier de Ridder, I don't think he's that type of guy. I think Renier de Ridder is a guy that can fight for a UFC title and is good enough to fight for a UFC title. So I think he's going to win this. I mean, also, obviously, Brendan Allen's taking this fight on short notice, which doesn't help him either. He wasn't in a training camp, so another advantage for Renier de Ridder. Skill for skill, though, how is this fight actually going to go? I mean, you have RDR. We know what he's about. He's a great grappler. Striking isn't the craziest. It's clumsy, but it works for him. His knees are deadly. That's Renier de Ridder. Brendan Allen, I think, overall is more of a complete package. I don't think he's a better grappler at all, but I think he might have him on the feet. And honestly, I think this fight's going to be a lot closer than people think. I think a lot of people are expecting RDR to go in there and just run through Brendan Allen. And I know I was just talking shit about Brendan Allen, but I actually think he does all right in this fight. And by all right, I mean he's just not going to get finished. I think he's going to be able to hang with RDR in some of these rounds. He's going to give him more issues than RDR is going to expect because Allen's just a little wild. I think on the feet, he can really do some damage to him. So I could see Allen taking a round here or there, maybe even winning 2 rounds, but it's just not going to be enough. RDR is going to land his takedowns in this fight. He's going to get his control time. And it may not be the craziest of wins, the prettiest of wins, but I think it's going to be effective, and it's going to bump RDR up the rankings even more and closer to the title. So now time for some of my best bets. There's 3 that really stand out to me from this card, and there's 3 of the fights I talked about. Cheeto Vera money line at plus 105. I think that's a great price here, and I think Cheeto has a serious chance at winning. I wouldn't mind biting on that. Then Jasmine Jasdavicius, of course, she's coming in as a plus 190 underdog, almost a 3x. I'm definitely taking that. I think she has a really good chance at winning this fight. Yeah, it's going to be tough. Yeah, I understand the line, but I'm backing Jasmine. I think she can definitely get it done. And then lastly, the first fight I talked about, Matt Frevola at minus 135 on the money line. I think that's a great price for him as well. I'm not a big fan of Kyle Nelson. I don't think he's that good. I think Frevola's a step above, and I think he'll get it done. Be on the lookout for more parlays that I'm going to be posting throughout the week. I'm going to get another video done with some more sneaky props for you guys, so definitely be on the lookout for that. But thank you all for watching this video. That is going to conclude my UFC Vancouver preview. Let me know if you guys agree with me in the comments. Let me know if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll catch you in the next one.